Are you really struggling to get positive thoughts in your head? Or perhaps there's too much negativity that it's bombarding your brain? Well, today we're going to go through how to reprogram your mind for a more positive mindset. Welcome back to my channel, The Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset, with me, Jonny Pardoe, here to help you boost your self-esteem and confidence. If you want more self-esteem and confidence-based videos, then subscribe to my channel where I release 2 videos a week every Tuesday and Thursday. I often get the question from people, how are you so positive? Or why don't you think negative? You're always positive. The truth is, I'm not always positive. My mind has been in some very dark places, but I constantly train it so that I'm in a positive state of mind the majority of the time. But when I struggle, I like to share it with people to show I'm human too. It's just a case of training it over and over again. And that's how I try and work with my clients. That's how I try and help my friends and my family. Just trying to think how they can switch their thinking from a negative state to a more positive state. From what I've learned from all my personal growth world, but also more importantly, from what I've actually implemented. It's strange timing actually, because I was having a conversation with my mum only the other day about how people are affected by seasonal affective disorder, as an acronym, SAD. And seasonal affective disorder, I won't go too much into it, is about when people's moods are changed, the chemicals in their bodies are changed from the weather a little bit, from winter, from summer. They start to not feel as good when it's darker and the sun's gone away. And that can be through different like vitamin sources they're getting in, but also psychologically it can play a role. Now, actually, a study was shown in the paper, or some research showing in the paper, was there wasn't actually that much of a difference between 2 different countries or different cultures, where they had some were in winter and they didn't feel so good. Well, sorry, some were in in winter and it wasn't as good weather there, and some were in the summer and it was a lot better there, but actually their moods were similar. So again, it was talking about psychology and their mindset. Mindset is absolutely crucial. If you can train your brain to think in a certain way, it can help you feel positive the majority of the time. And it's particularly important during these COVID days. There are going to be some worse situations for people than others, whether that's health, whether that's financially, economically. But if we can train our mindset to think differently, we can feel better. And I've certainly been in places when I've not had the right mindset and things weren't even that bad in reality, but they seem like the end of the world. And then I've had really more difficult times in the last year or so. And actually through my mindset, through how I've been looking after myself, I've been able to bounce back and not feel as bad about them. So I'm going to share these tips with you now. Tip number 1, and I could just make a video on this one alone, to be honest, because it's the most important. The quality of questions you're asking yourself. There's a very, very famous quote by Tony Robbins. The quality of your questions determines the quality of your life. What that means is, whatever you ask your brain, it will look for the answer. And I've also heard this from Rob Dahl, and I've heard this from many other sources. So I wanted to share it with you in case you hadn't heard it. If you ask yourself, why is life so difficult? Why is everything against me? Why doesn't so-and-so like me? Why is my job so difficult? Why am I so unhappy? Why am I so useless? Why am I so pathetic? Your brain is going to look for those answers and they're going to be negative. But if you spin it round to things like, what can I be appreciative of today? What's going well? What can I do more of? How can I change the situation into a really good one? What can I learn from this? Your brain also will look for a really good answer. So a good practice to improve this is to look at your journaling. Start journaling in the evening. Start asking yourself these questions. And that's what I did. When I have a challenge or a setback, I'm like, right, what can I do? So for example, the other day, my internet went down. I was a bit hacked off, to be honest, and they weren't going to resolve it quickly enough. In this day and age, obviously, you kind of working from home, so you need internet to be resolved quite quickly. But I thought, right, what alternative arrangements can I make? I was going to go visit my family later in the week. I'm going to visit them earlier in the week. I'm going to call my provider and think, right, okay, can you sort this out? Going to contact the OpenReach engineer and sort all this, and it seems to be resolved. Fingers crossed when I go back home tomorrow. Obviously, I have to think of alternatives. But I start to think, right, what can I do to get the best out of the situation? How can I move forward rather than, why is this internet so rubbish? So that's just one example. It's not like a traumatic one, but you have to really think about your questions. And to point out, there are going to be traumatic events where you're going to feel negative emotions, and that's okay. Feeling things like grief and trauma are absolutely normal, but kind of obviously we want to work through them. But there are bad situations in life that come at us, and if we keep asking ourselves negative questions, we're not going to be as positive. So that's my first point. Think about how you can rephrase your questions to start feeling more positive. That's the first and probably the most important point I'm going to make in terms of reprogramming your brain. Tip number 2, meditation or mindfulness. Why is this useful? Now, first of all, I'd like to say I'm not one who meditates for like 2 hours a day, because quite frankly, I get up, I do a little bit of waking up, like 5-10 minutes yoga at max, brush my teeth, do the power pose usually, have a quick shower, and then I'm into like the hardest task of my day. And then I like to meditate at midday to kind of train, rather than kind of using 2 hours up. Now, different people are going to find different things useful, but I like to get into my harder tasks. But I make sure I get meditation and mindfulness in. And why is that? That is because it really helps me become present and understand what's going on. And progress starts with truth. If I can label and observe those negative emotions, I'm going to be able to work through them quickly. When we put more resistance against them and try and deny they're there, they're only going to come back stronger. So doing mindfulness and meditation is going to help you identify what's wrong and become more self-aware. And when we become more self-aware, we're able to identify the problem, and therefore we can work through it a lot quicker. So don't run from your problems. Use things like mindfulness and meditation to observe they're there, and then start doing things like the journaling to think how you can work through them. So that's my second tip. Put a bit of mindfulness or meditation in your day. My question for you today is, what do you do to feel more positive? Just drop yours in the comments below. And my final point, which is also a real key one that I keep repeating because you should keep repeating this, but pay attention to the information you're taking in every day. And I'm talking about what you're listening to, whether that's a podcast, whether that's the news, whether that's music. If you know me, I'm a bit against watching the news because quite frankly, they try and make you addicted to it and scare you and tell you a lot of negativity, because that's what the media does sometimes. Apologies, I'm going to just express my view on that. But Peter Sage did a great talk on this the other day. Check out Peter Sage if you haven't already. But anyway, off the media. If you're listening to constant negativity like that and not drilling in things like positive music, positive information, uplifting podcasts, then you're going to be in a more negative state naturally, because it's going into your system. Even if you don't notice it consciously, it is going into your system. So start to think about what you are listening to and then try and make it as positive as possible. Okay, so those are my tips on how to reprogram your mind to think more positive. Obviously, we talked about the information taking in and talking about the meditation and mindfulness. But remember, the questions you ask yourself is going to look for an answer. So make sure you're listening to more positive, or asking yourself more positive questions in order to feel better. By getting those answers, you're going to take more positive actions and therefore more likely to get positive results and feel good in your life. If you want to develop your mindset even more, get more self-esteem, more confidence, get that self-esteem and confidence mindset, then you can check out the Self-Esteem and Confidence Mindset book, which is available on Amazon in both paperback and Kindle. I'll leave the link in the description for you. So I really appreciate you for watching today. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like it And if you want more videos like this, then you can subscribe to my channel as well. Don't forget, never miss Self-Esteem Day. Thank you again for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.